Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. So in this video we are going to look at a little spreadsheet because I would really like to visualize and try to illustrate this ramp that is going on in the EV world and what the big boys are doing about them leading the EV race. Because I also still get a lot of comments that I'm manipulating the numbers and Volkswagen will catch up with Tesla because they are growing faster than Tesla is and so on. So I would like to show you the numbers, not the numbers that I think will happen, but the numbers the likes of GM, Ford and Volkswagen have said themselves this is what they will do. And we of course have the data of what they already have done, so we just have to fill in the blanks between those two. But this will show you that it will be impossible for the old guys to catch Tesla if they don't change their targets and ramp up of EVs. So let me show you why, and let's dive right in. So I have made this very simple chart to keep this as simple as possible. The green here is what we already know because that is last year, and the light green is what we almost know because they are only a couple of months back here in 2021, so we do have most of the data here. And the yellow numbers are the targets that Volkswagen, GM, Ford and Tesla have all announced. So these are not my numbers, these are their numbers. So all we have to do really is to make a ladder from what we know to their targets, and we kind of have an idea of how this is going to look. Quite simple. We of course have a little more knowledge available, so I have tried to make the ladder as close to how I think this will play out, and of course all just rough numbers. But take Ford for example. Ford has told us how they will ramp up the F-150 Lightning, so we do have those numbers available. In 2022, 15,000, in 2023, 55,000, and in 2024, 80,000. And just remember, this is doubling their original target for the F-150 Lightning. And the ICE version of this car is their most sold vehicle, so I don't expect them to ramp the Mach-E or the E-Transits much faster than this. The ICE version of the Transit sells about 400,000 per year, so it is less than half the size of the F-150 market. But we are going to be very bullish on Ford's numbers here because we do know the ramp of the F-150, so I will give the other EVs the same kind of ramp as the F-150 Lightning over the next couple of years. And we do also know that Ford have access to about 20 gigawatt hours of batteries. That is good enough for about 250,000 EVs, so they will not be battery constrained for the next 2 years. But they have to get their hands on a lot more batteries soon to do their ramp, because they are not planning for their own batteries before 2025 in partnership with SKI, where they will get about 60 gigawatt hours worth of batteries going forward. So in 2022 they will make about 15,000 F-150s, 80,000 Mach-E's and 50,000 E-Transit or thereabouts. So that adds up to 145,000 BEVs. In 2023, 55,000 F-150s, maybe 80,000 E-Transit and maybe 150,000 Mach-E, so we get to 285,000. So now Ford really has to make some crazy big ramp up to get to the target of 1 million in just 2 years from here. But we don't know what new EVs they will come out with, so we're just going to continue the ramp of the things we know. So F-150, we know the target is 80,000 in 2024, and then we're going to put in 200,000 Mach-E's, and that is quite a big ramp. And then we have 120,000 E-Transit, also quite a good ramp for this vehicle. But that only adds up to 400,000 cars, so we still are missing 200,000 cars in 2024. So maybe they will come up with some new EV models they haven't been talking about, or maybe they will ramp up the Mach-E to 400,000, we just don't know. But they will have to get to about 600,000 if they want to get to 1 million in 2025. So this is quite a steep ladder for Ford from 24 to 25, but hopefully they have a plan for this. But GM, on the other hand, looks like they have a very small ladder to go through the next 4 years compared to Ford. If they get to 450,000 EVs this year anyway. Well, that might sound like crazy behind numbers for GM, but the 400,000 of these 450,000 is actually the Wuling Mini EV that GM is actually a part of. I do usually not take this car into my calculation because this is just such an absurd car with no safety feature whatsoever. That car will never be allowed to drive in Europe, for example. So that car will only be a thing in China, and no matter what, it will not be a car that will make GM a lot of money, even though it sells very well. GM is supposedly only earning about $14 per Mini EV, so not a good business case. But anyway, GM will probably count this one as one of their own and say, look, we are making 450,000 BEVs in 2021. We are one of the leaders of the EV market already. So anyway, the ramp of the GM looks kind of small. Also, we know they will make 30 new EV models by 2025, but only 1 million EVs, so that is roughly 33,000 units per model. So GM is going for a lot of different models, but not so many units. But for them to go from 450,000 to 1 million in 4 years should be very doable thanks to their Chinese partnerships. And GM will get access to about 30 gigawatt hours of battery from the new battery plant they are making with LG Chem, which should be ready in 2023. So the GM ladder looks very small and easy compared to what Ford has to do. So, then there are Volkswagen, which made about 231,000 BEVs in 2019. They will make about 400,000 this year, give or take, and their target is 1.5 million in 2025, and they will get access to about 40 gigawatt hours in 2023 and again in 2025, so they should be able to make this ramp from 400,000 to 1.5 million with a ladder that looks something like this. So from 2021 to 2025, this should be the rough numbers of these three legacy automakers, right? From what we know to their own targets, not something I'm cooking up here, and then we just fill in the ladders. Yes, the numbers can be down 100,000 in 2022 and up 100,000 in 2023, but the ladder should look something like this. So what about Tesla? We don't have a target for 2025, only their target for 20 million in 2030. But let's save that for later, because after 2025 we don't have much to go on, so that is mostly guesswork. But we do have a target that Elon Musk has given us. They do expect they can grow at least 50% over the next several years, whatever several years means. But I will guess at least until 2025. Also because Tesla is about to turn on 2 new factories. So they will now have 4 factories producing cars, and when they are fully ramped up and built out, these 4 factories should have about 7 million cars in yearly production capacity. So even with no more factories in the next 4 years, they will still be able to ramp up 50% year over year. So if we just go with 50%, even though it is probably way too low in 2022, but let's just go with that for now. That will give us about 1.35 million cars in 2022. So as we can see here, no one will be even close to Tesla's numbers in 2022. Not even close to Tesla's numbers from 2021. Actually, Tesla is going to be almost as big next year as these 3 big legacy automakers' BEV sales combined. Just like Tesla is going to be this year. Tesla is going to sell about as many BEVs this year as Ford, GM and Volkswagen combined. And they will also do that next year, just below the combined sales of the other 3. But then in 2023, Tesla will be just above 2 million cars, and the 3 others combined again will be just less than 2 million cars. And Volkswagen will in 2023 probably be at Tesla's size from 2021 at 900,000 units. And in 2024, Tesla will just leave them behind with just over 3 million EVs, and the others combined at 2.6 million. And then we have their own targets in 2025 of 3.5 million BEVs combined, and Tesla will be about 1 million above that. And remember, I do think these numbers for Tesla is very realistic, actually a bit on the low side. So I do believe next year Tesla will make something like 1.6 million cars. And if we then give Tesla a 50% growth rate from there on out, it will look something like this. And if that's going to be the case, Tesla will leave them all behind already next year, combined. They all talk like they will beat Tesla and they will be the leader in the EV race, but they won't even be able to keep up with Tesla combined. Even if we make some of the most unrealistic bare numbers in 2022 and start Tesla's ladder with only 1.1 million, Tesla will still be bigger than all of them combined in 2025. Even if we flatline Tesla's numbers next year and then give them the 50% target, which is Tesla's target, right? And we have used all of the other guys' targets, so if we believe all of the other guys, we are also going to believe Tesla, right? Tesla has, after all, made 56% compound annual growth rate from 2014 to 2020, which everyone said was impossible, actually absurd. And as we can see, Tesla is actually speeding up, going to do something like 80% growth this year, even without any new factories. But next year they will have twice the amount of factories and still ramp up the old ones. So for people not to believe Tesla will make this growth is the most absurd thing here. And just remember, GM also said back in 2017 they would have 20 new EV models by 2022. And they will only have something like 3, maybe 4 models next year. They are the ones that are missing their targets, not Tesla. So if we believe GM's targets, we should definitely believe Tesla's targets. But let's flatline it next year and then give them the 50% growth. Well, Tesla will still be bigger than any of the other guys in 2025. And this is the legacy's own target numbers. And even if we make a very bare case for Tesla, the other guys will just never lead this race. Tesla would have to stop what they're doing for the other guys to keep up. But why should Tesla be able to grow this much? Why don't the other guys just grow as much as a company in size? Well, because all of their great sales numbers are all from ICE cars, which is falling off a cliff right now, and they are not making as many EVs as they will lose in ICE cars, so they will shrink in size, not even stay at the same size as they are now. The other guys are not putting their EV sales on top of their ICE sales. It will be instead of their ICE sales. That is why we see someone like Tesla is becoming bigger than Volvo, for example, this year. And it's already bigger than Skoda this year. Why didn't Volvo just scale to 900,000 cars as Tesla has done this year? Well, because all of the other guys have already found their size in the ICE car market, but now the switch to EVs is happening, giving someone like Tesla a great opportunity, and any other EV startup, to sell as many EVs as they can because the demand is there. It is only a question of how many can they make, and Tesla is showing their great strength in production. So much so that Volkswagen is now asking Tesla for advice on how to become more productive. And they're going down there to the Berlin factory to check it out. But the other guys are not really showing a lot of strength in their EV production. Like Ford has had the whole year now with production of EVs and will only produce something like 65,000 Mark Es for the entire year. So it is very easy to see that the numbers we have available and the targets the company has given us, they will simply never catch up to Tesla. They have to make some much higher targets if they want to do that. As you can see here, Ford and GM will not even be as big in 2030 as Tesla will be in 2025. So for them to go out and say they will lead this race just shows me they are just closing their eyes to a little company called Tesla. They don't exist in our world. Or they simply just don't believe Tesla will be able to ramp up this fast, even though they have showed us. Or they're just simply trying to fool the public to believe it for the next year or two before it becomes painfully obvious for everyone on the planet that they will never catch up with those pathetic EV goals. Or maybe they actually do believe that the EV revolution will take 20 years to happen, but then I really think they will be very surprised. And I have made a whole video about how fast I think the transition will happen here in Europe anyway, so if Ford and GM truly believe this, they will go bankrupt, because then they are simply just not prepared for what is coming. But anyway, as we can see here in this simple little chart, if everything goes as planned, as they have planned, for every one of these 4 car companies, Tesla will be at least 1 million units bigger in BEVs than all of them combined in 2025. So no, they will never catch up. But Lars, never say never. I'm gonna say that one more time. They will never catch up, and I just put in the numbers for 2026 here as well, because if we take the conservative way with Tesla and say only 50% growth all the way out to 2026, we can see Tesla will be able to make about 6.8 million cars. But just remember, Tesla will be able to do that with just the factories they have now, and Tesla will at that point also be able to make enough of their own batteries to produce all of those 6.8 million cars. So even with no other factories being built in the next 5 years, but only building out and ramping up what they already have, they will be able to do this. These numbers are not even bullish. So when we know all these numbers, the path of these 4 companies is pretty clear, at least for the next 4 to 5 years. So every time I see people talking about Volkswagen will beat Tesla and they're growing faster than Tesla, I'm not replying to their comments, not to be rude, but just because I know these guys are out of reach if they don't already know these facts about these companies. It is their targets, not mine. So they are the ones that are actually not believing what Volkswagen has put in as target. They expect them to grow faster than even Volkswagen themselves thinks they will do. And they probably don't believe Tesla will be able to grow this fast, even though Tesla has been growing with a compound annual growth rate for the last 6 years of 56% from 2014 to 20, and it looks like they are speeding up, growing with about 80% this year. So there's nothing to believe here. This is just a fact. Tesla has already shown they are able to do this. So sorry, this is not to hate on the legacy automakers. I do hope they survive this. But this is just to show that for them to go out and say, or any other for that matter to say, that they will lead this race, well, that is the most absurd thing. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.